Hi, I'm Paul, and welcome to the All About Neurofeedback podcast. It's where we showcase top neurofeedback practitioners, so put on your headphones, tune in your brainwaves, and get ready to learn all about neurofeedback. Hello everybody, this is Paul with All About Neurofeedback. All About for Neurofeedback is a resource for you to go learn about neurofeedback and how it helps and how it can really help you with a lot of the challenges people face in their day-to-day lives with their mental health. And it's so effective and it's an exciting field to be a part of. So that's what this is all about. If you'd like to go to allaboutneurofeedback.com, you'll see that there's podcasts and articles and different content to really help you get a handle on this and what it could do for you. And if you're a neurofeedback provider looking at this, you'll be able to get a free listing on your All About Neurofeedback that can really help you get exposure to the public, which I think is also really important. Today I'm sitting with Nigel Barnim with Hamilton Neurofeedback, and I'm going to be talking to him a little bit about how he got started and how he sees he can help people with the different things that neurofeedback does and where he's going, some of the background he has. So it's going to be a great conversation. So thanks, Nigel, for doing this. I appreciate it. Maybe you could tell people a little bit about yourself and what really happened that made neurofeedback a good choice for you. So kind of like, what did you get started in the industry?
Luckily, I have a relatively linear and kind of storybook tale. So I did an undergrad in psychology and was always interested in people. In my second year abnormal psych textbook, which they now call clinical psych because calling mental illness abnormal was problematic. In that textbook, there was a single paragraph. I still remember, I still have the text, which talked about biofeedback. And so neurofeedback is a type of biofeedback. And the paragraph was something like, here's this other treatment that can work to, calm down your nervous system, and it complements everything else really well. And that was it. It was 10 sentences. And I went, that seems pretty important. Just kind of filed it away, remembered that always. I got into the kind of biohacking space, which is the idea of if you change the biological functioning of a person, like how they're sleeping, how they're eating, hormones in their body, the supplements in their body, that those things can have an impact on their mental health. And so I remember hearing a year after that, maybe 2017 now, hearing a YouTube lecture where someone mentioned neurofeedback, and they said it took away the voice in my mind. It took away the voice in my head. It just went away. And I was 3 or 4 years into meditating at that point, and I went, oh my God, this neurofeedback thing, this biofeedback thing could do that? What? I went, okay, I should pay attention to this, another little signal, this is important. At the time, and for a while afterwards, I was struggling with anxiety. Just had so much stress and kind of physiological arousal would be the technical phrase, but my mind and body were both kind of on 8 to 10 all the time. Just couldn't calm myself down, regardless of what I tried. And so I went, I should try this neurofeedback thing. I'm going to see what's around. I went to Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario for my undergrad. And I happened to find the Kingston Institute of Psychotherapy and Neurofeedback. It might have been a different acronym. It was Kingston, Neurofeedback Organization, something like this. So I did 10 sessions of NeuroOptimal there, which is the type of neurofeedback I use now. And I remember feeling super calm. It was it felt like meditation on steroids. I remember leaving one session and being I just feel like I meditated for 10 hours. And I couldn't do 20 at the time without, scratching myself every 2 seconds. I dropped it, just like so many people do. I was I'm busy, I'm writing my thesis, I'm kind of in the middle of something, and then shelved it again. Then I read the book, The Body Keeps the Score, the book on trauma. Super popular book. If you haven't heard about it, if you're interested in trauma, this is the book to read. There's a chapter on neurofeedback. And I went, okay, third time's the charm. This thing's hitting me over the head. Pay attention. Pay attention. Seriously, there's something here. A fun fact, I think there's a graph that I've inserted in some PowerPoint presentations I've given in the past where you can see tweets on neurofeedback over time. It just spikes the minute The Body Keeps the Score comes out. And then never goes back to the base. Yeah, it's it's a really interesting graph. It's within a month of that coming out, you've got this okay, this book had an impact on public awareness. So still 20% of the intakes that I do nowadays in my practice are people who read The Body Keeps the Score. It's a very non-zero way of people finding out about neurofeedback. So did that again, kind of paused it for a minute, got busy, COVID happened. 2021 or so, 2022, I started neurofeedback at a clinic in Toronto, Ontario. I'm from Hamilton, Ontario, Hamilton Neurofeedback. So it's like an hour drive away. Went and did another 30 or 40 sessions of what's called Loretta neurofeedback, guided by, a really skilled psychologist who assessed what I could use, what my brain would benefit from. And it was life changing. That one fit me really well. And just within a year, I was functionally that 8 or 10 on anxiety was just a 4.
So what else did it do for you besides just help you with your anxiety?
A lot of the problems in my life were downstream of struggling with self-regulation, with the ability to calm down my nervous system. So some of those problems were anxiety, low mood, kind of addictive behaviors, struggled with a strong sense of self or kind of strong self-confidence, self-assuredness, didn't really know what I wanted in life. I was about 25 at the time that I started doing it, 25, 26. So it's hard to say that neurofeedback alone did that. It was also just a young man, getting his stuff together, getting his ducks in order. But I cannot discredit how much that particular training, which what it did was it rewarded me. I got a piece of feedback about my brain activity. So neurofeedback, every time my brain, the kind of executive functioning network, the self-regulation network, communicated effectively with itself. And then eventually we threw in little parts of anxiety. So it was every time your big adult self-regulation brain communicates with your anxious brain, we're going to go, good. You're talking effectively. Keep doing that. Do more of that. So I look back, especially in the last 6 months, it's been maybe 2 years since the bulk of that training ended. I look back now and I'm I am very much a different person. To communicate the kind of value, I might have spent 6 or 7 grand Canadian in all of those sessions overall. I would have spent 5 times that much for how much it did in my life, maybe 10. I probably would have spent 20 or 30 times as much to do it 5 years sooner or 10 years sooner.
Yeah. So basically, and it's interesting talking to you because you're going to school for this as well. But people that go through therapy or counseling, or they take medications and they have things things that are labeled as such as anxiety and ADHD and that type of thing. They can go through years of therapy and never resolve anything, right? Or they could take all this medication and it only lasts a short period of time. Whereas neurofeedback is relatively permanent and relatively short time to get the result you're looking for. How often what kind of a percentage would you say that people get, the improvement they're looking for? Was it half the time, more or less?
It's a great question. I think if people stick with it, the average number of sessions is 0. The second most common number of sessions is 1, and then people don't come back. But if you stick with it, if you really give it a serious try, 5 or 10 sessions worth to just see if you're going to feel anything, I'd say 80% of the people I see are getting benefits they're happy with.
Yeah.
Maybe 10%, 10 or 20% are just getting nothing at all, or it's just going to take so long. Some people's brains just love this stuff. Some people's brains, 10 or 20% of the people I see, just this changed my life instantly. There's a chance I'm just that, lucky guy, statistically. 10 or 20% of people just get nothing, and then the rest, at 60 or 80, are happy, are satisfied with the results. It does something positive for them in their life.
Right. Yeah, I think I'm pretty susceptible too, because the first time I did neurofeedback is with NeuroOptimal. It was actually our own unit because we actually had a clinic at one point. And I remember it was a tough day because I had 2 businesses at the time. It was a really tough day. And then about 3, I did that first session of neurofeedback with our new system that came in, right? And I felt amazing after, all the stress went away. And it was so weird because I used to be really into working out. So the next day, I woke up at 5, wanted to go to the gym. So I did, which I never really do that early.
Yeah.
So it was just amazing. So for me, that's kind of what happened. And I know there's different systems and there's different ways of helping people where you can deal with particular issues, right? But NeuroOptimal is an awesome system too. So that I know that for somebody just starting out, that's perfect for them, right?
Agreed.
It's perfect.
Agreed. Started Hamilton Neurofeedback about 2.5 years ago. NeuroOptimal is by a long shot the simplest system to use.
Yeah.
And still produces solid clinical results.
So I had a question because one of the things in your background is you have this background in meditation, exercise science, and you have this, what you call systems thinking. And how does all that kind of relate into neurofeedback and how you can help somebody?
Big question, but good question. So, I mean, I think just to explain what those things are, people know what meditation is, people know what, exercise is. The systems thinking thing, or like complex systems, basically all of those things mean I'm a nerd, is the way I can think of this easily, is like, I have always been a nerd, or for the last 10 years, my adult life, I've been a nerd for like health and self-improvement. Meditation was something that came to me in my late teens. Exercise was something that came to me in my late teens. And both of those things have paid these like huge dividends for my wellness. The systems thinking, or like thinking in systems, is something that I should, thank my brother for this. And a professor in university who taught us to stop thinking in terms of linear relationships. So what is a linear relationship? For anyone who's a listener, who's a fan of neuroptimal or a fan of neurofeedback, or has heard the phrase non-linear dynamical neurofeedback, which is the like big buzzword after neuroptimal, that bell should be ringing for you. This is going to relate to neuroptimal and the type of neurofeedback it does. So a complex system, almost everything is more of a complex system, a set of overlapping and intertwining relationships, than it is a linear relationship. A linear relationship is like X causes Y. It's like amount of cloudiness outside predicts number of umbrellas sold that day. Like, it's a very clear simplification of a complex problem or complex kind of situation. The trick is, almost all psychological science, almost all research is like linear relationships. It's hard to research these really complex things, which is like a forest is a great example of a complex system. It's like sunshine affects the trees, but also rain affects the trees. And the trees affect the animals, which kind of affect the trees, which also the sunshine affects the animals. Like, if you tried to draw it out, it's just a mess. There's too many things to make a simple prediction, like an X causes Y. But thinking with that frame of mind, that things are complex, interrelated kind of sets of variables, pays huge dividends in life. Just to use that phrase again, like, people are complex systems is really the fundamental belief in my practice. And it's also basically the fundamental underlying neuroptimal neurofeedback, that brains are complex systems. So back to that forest analogy, the useful thing about a complex system is that instead of X affects Y or X changes Y, it's like changing any one piece of that little forest. Imagine that big visualization of it again. You got the trees and the plants and the animals and the sun and the wind and the all of these things. If you change any one thing, it changes the whole rest of the person, or it changes the whole rest of the system. So this is meditation, this is exercise science going back in, is like almost everyone listening to this has had the experience of going on a walk, like moving their bodies and feeling less stressed afterwards, or going hard at the gym and like feeling great afterwards. It's like your physical body impacts your mood. Kind of duh, but that's really important. And actually, that's the principle of neurofeedback, is like, no one goes in and says, I really just want to change my brain. They say they want to change how they feel. Or like, I really just want to have these sensors hooked up to my head. Like, no one cares about their brain activity. They care about how they feel. And because your brain is such a central part of this kind of complex system of a person, because it influences so many parts of how you think and how you feel and your beliefs and your perceptions of the world, changing the brain can change how you feel and change your mind and change your perceptions of the world. It's the strangest thing in my own experience, and I'm sure most people who have done neurofeedback and responded can say this, of like, coming home from a session where like all you were doing was like listening to little static in your ears, the feedback about your brain activity, then all you were doing was getting some kind of like little stimulus, some neurofeedback, and you're driving home and you're like, I feel really good. What happened? What was this doing? It's a wonderful mystery.
That was really interesting how that, because I've often wondered how you could understand dynamical neurofeedback. It's such a buzzword, but nobody's really explained it before.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
So, okay. So when you think about the people that come to see you, what kind of results are you hoping, and what are they hoping to get from their time with you?
Great question. I think it depends on what they want. It depends on what they're coming in with. I hope for what they hope for. This is kind of my role. Sometimes someone comes in and you think like, they're saying, I'm not sleeping well, and you think, you could use some help with anxiety, but they don't say that. It's like, my role as a practitioner is to help and encourage where they're at and what they need, and meet them where they're at in that way. But this is part of why Neuroptimal, the type of neurofeedback I use and that we've mentioned, is so valuable. It will functionally treat whatever you come in with. So I've had people come in, I'd say almost everyone comes in saying, I'm stressed. That's like the most common complaint. I'm stressed or I'm anxious. Some people are coming in with ADHD. Some people are coming in with like mood difficulties. I've had people coming in just looking to go from, I'm already okay to great. Because of how Neuroptimal works, if the problem is located or situated in the brain rather than in, the behavior or in the mind and your beliefs, if the problem is in some part situated in the brain, which most of the time it is, like, big secret, it will help to normalize whatever abnormal patterns of activity might be causing that.
What would you tell somebody coming in to see you for the first time that really has probably no experience with neurofeedback? What would you want them to know?
I keep it pretty simple. I explain what neurofeedback is. We're giving you feedback about the electrical activity of your brain, and your brain's going to make a bunch of subconscious little micro corrections based on that feedback. I say stuff, a lot of these lines are stolen from Seaburn Fisher, who is basically, she was the topic in that chapter in The Body Keeps the Score. She was the subject matter expert there, so trauma expert in neurofeedback. I say, you bring your brain will do the rest. Your job is to bring your brain. Almost everyone tries to I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to make sure I understand why that feedback is happening at this time and not this time. I'll finish a session with someone, they're I thought about work and I got way more feedback. What does that mean? It's you're never going to figure it out. The cue that I give is the feedback isn't good or bad, just notice it. The same way that you might have heard the kind of meditation cue or prompt that whenever your mind wanders, just acknowledge it's wandered and bring it back. Just notice it.
Yeah.
Is really the core of the instruction that I give people. I don't know, a lot of first timers are worried it's going to hurt or what's happening. No, it doesn't hurt. I think 95% of the time people are nice and calm and relaxed afterwards. Sometimes people will get a headache, but that goes away on its own. Yeah, for the most part, it's just pay attention to the feedback, notice how you feel, give it a college try, really commit to 5 sessions or 5 or 10 before you decide whether this is working or not. Just like with anything else, you kind of got to give it some time. I've had people who do 1 session like you did, or sometimes like I did, and go oh my God, this is doing something. I feel it. But sometimes it takes 5 sessions or 10 sessions to kind of have that click. Okay, this is doing something. So keep trying is a lot of what I'm saying at the start too.
Okay, that's awesome. So is there anything else that you'd like to talk about, Nigel?
I am a relatively new practice in Hamilton, Ontario, where I grew up. I eventually want to integrate more than just Neuroptimal, have a kind of toolkit to use for people. There are tons of other tools. I mean, podcast is on neurofeedback, but personally, I'm really excited about a lot of different tools for brain health. If one type of neurofeedback doesn't work for you, try another. Neuroptimal works great for some people. I've had people go do, other neurofeedback and then come to Neuroptimal and be like, this is amazing. Or people do the opposite. It's a big world. Neurofeedback's really complicated. It's complex. People don't really know what it is. Just call a practitioner. They'll probably be happy to explain more. Check out All About Neurofeedback. There's a good frequently asked questions section there. You can find me at hamiltonneurofeedback.com. So Hamilton, like the city, neurofeedback, like neurofeedback.
Awesome. Well, that's great. Thank you very much, Nigel. I appreciate you doing this. And if you're listening to this and you live in that local area and you need some help, it sounds like Nigel has some great skills to offer. And, I appreciate you listening to this, and I appreciate you being on to that, Nigel. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, vice versa. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks for listening. Want to learn more about neurofeedback? Go to allaboutneurofeedback.com, where you'll find a ton of free resources to learn from, or you can connect with a local practitioner today. If you are a neurofeedback practitioner looking to grow your business, click the link in the description to learn more about our special offers or to get showcased on this podcast. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.